Hello everybody, this is Uppish, and welcome to my second or third react video, not counting my try not to laugh videos. This is going to be 10 creepy photos with disturbing backstories. So anyways guys, without further ado, let's start this. But first, let me turn down my microphone. There we go, I think. Okay, let's turn this down a little lower as well. Okay, alright, I think that will do. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, let's start this thing. We're not playing it in full screen simply because, for some reason, full screen has a lot worse errors than having this in theater mode. Lazy Masquerade. I'll leave a link down in the description to the original video for you to watch it yourselves if you want to. 10 chilling photos and the stories behind them.
Number 1. The Gladbeck hostage crisis. Her expression says it all. This was 18-year-old Silke Bischoff. She'd been taken hostage by two bank robbers, Dieter Degowski and Hans-Jürgen Rosner. The pair of gangsters were on the run from the cops and took a bus full of civilians hostage in Hackelriede, Germany. At the time this photo was taken, the duo had already executed a 15-year-old Italian hostage, and a police officer had died in a crash while pursuing them. Over time, most of the hostages on the bus were released. Only Silke and one other female hostage were left behind as bargaining chips. They were forced into a getaway car, and the robbers took them on a long journey into the Netherlands. The situation was handled extremely poorly by the police, and media outlets were even able to hold interviews with the two armed convicts, giving them not only exposure, but leverage as well. Authorities watched on as journalists brought the criminals cups of tea and coffee. Some reporters even helped to prolong the incident, guiding the abductors on their way, and handing them pictures of the police officers involved in the case, so that they wouldn't be tricked during a hostage exchange. During an interview, one reporter even asked Silke, "What's it like to have a gun held to your neck?" The ratings were through the roof. Near the end of the whole ordeal, a police cruiser rammed into the robbers' escape vehicle, rendering it immobile. Rather than come out with their hands up, the gangsters decided to make their last stand, all guns blazing,
that is just so
with
sad.
Silke still in the car. Silke was killed in the ensuing gunfight. The same can't be said of both the hostage takers. They survived. With no more hostages left, they were forced to surrender. Rosner
You
received a
ugly,
life sentence.
nasty people.
Degowski got off light with 24 years. Since this all took place in 1988, he's a free man.
You nasty people.
Number 2. The Collapse.
That actually brings
In
tears to my eyes.
1976, photographer Stanley Foreman took this Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph. Entitled Fire on Marlborough Street, it captures the chilling moment that a fire escape collapsed in Boston, sending 19-year-old Diana Bryant and her 2-year-old goddaughter plummeting down 50 feet. Bryant didn't survive the fall. Her goddaughter, however, did, but only because she landed on top of Bryant's body. This remarkable image went on to be awarded the title of World Press Image of the Year.
This is actually bringing tears to my eyes.
As a result of the collapse, fire escape regulations were strengthened throughout the entirety of the United States.
This makes me want to cry.
Number 3. The Anniversary Crasher. Joe Martinez was at his in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary, enjoying a night of festivities along with his wife, Patty. Unbeknownst to most of the other guests, Joe was battling a severe drug problem, one that he says was killing his soul. Still, Patty stood by her husband in spite of his addiction, hoping that one day Joe would see the light and finally get clean. Little did they both realize that Joe would indeed see the light that evening, and it would come in the form of a camera flash. the couple posed together for this photo. At first glance, it's a fairly ordinary image. But something appeared alongside Joe, which wasn't there when they took the picture. A dog-like face leering over his shoulder.
Ooh.
There were no dogs at the party, no animals of any kind, and the creature didn't appear in any other photographs taken that evening. Nobody at the event remembered seeing anything even remotely resembling it. By all accounts, it shouldn't be there.
My
the couple
gosh.
themselves truly believe that it's a demon. Believing that it was following him, Joe took this photo as a sign to finally kick his drug habit. "There's good and evil in this life," said Mr. Martinez. "There's the good on the right side of me, and there's the evil on the left." Joe now carries the photo with him wherever he goes, as a reminder to keep himself clean.
Ooh. That is some creepy crap right there.
Number 4.
Dude.
The most sinister wink of all time. And that's what many people believe this is, at least. The photo was taken just after Lyndon B. Johnson had been sworn in as president on Air Force One. In the foreground, you can see a grieving Jackie Kennedy. Her husband, JFK, had just been assassinated. His blood and brains were still on her coat. There's obviously a somber atmosphere on board the jet, a sorrowful expression on every face. That is, with one exception. As Jackie mourned the death of her husband, LBJ turned to one of his longtime cronies, Texas Congressman Albert Thomas. He gives LBJ a secret wink and smile, not realizing that Cecil Stoughton, the White House photographer, was taking a picture of the scene. According to the man in charge of Air Force One at the time, President Johnson's behavior on the flight was, quote-unquote, obscene. This image is certainly something for conspiracy theorists to chew on. Then again, there could be a much more innocent explanation for the wink. That doesn't explain LBJ's so-called obscene behavior during the flight, though. Even if things aren't as menacing as they appear, it's still disturbing to see such high-profile figures so pleased with themselves in the presence of a grieving widow, and in the wake of their president's murder. The photographer himself said, "The wink could have been innocent or sinister, and I would lean towards the latter." Number 5. The Tinder date. People have mixed opinions about Tinder, but I think the majority of us agree that it's not the best place to go looking for long-lasting romance. Still, millions of people use the app for hookups and dates all the time. Problem is, when you're interacting with someone through a screen for a while, it's easy to forget that the person you're talking to is still a complete stranger, and agreeing to meet that stranger is, unfortunately, not completely risk-free. It was August of 2014, and Warina Wright, a New Zealander in her mid-20s, was in Australia for a friend's wedding. The Gold Coast was providing her with both sun and sea, but something was missing. She opened Tinder to secure the final S. She matched with a guy that she thought was cute, Gable Tosti, a self-proclaimed Gold Coast playboy.
Really?
The pair met up, and Warina agreed to go back to his apartment, alone. A decision that would cost her her life.
Wow.
This is the last image taken of Warina while she was still alive.
Aww.
Audio recordings found on Tosti's phone revealed that she was begging for him to let her go home. Tosti refused to let her leave, saying, "I would, but you've been a bad girl."
What?
Later in the recordings, guttural choking sounds could be heard, as if Warina was being strangled. At various other points, he threatens to knock her out and push her over the edge of his balcony on the 14th floor. Well, the exact events of that night remain unclear, but at some point during the early hours, Warina either fell or was thrown from the apartment's balcony. Her body was apparently folded over on itself. There were indeed red marks around her neck, indicative of strangulation. It was originally alleged that Warina was so scared of her date that she tried to climb down from the building to escape him. After she fell, Tosti called up his father and asked him, "Why does this keep happening to me?" CCTV footage showed him walking around outside the apartment, eating a slice of Domino's pizza only 5 minutes after Warina's death. Tosti's legal team managed to convince the jury that he had locked Warina out on the balcony for his own safety. Her death was not Mr. Tosti's fault, since he had used reasonable force to subdue her after she became aggressive. The fact that she fell was her own fault.
Wow.
Ultimately, he was found not guilty of both murder and manslaughter.
Are people stupid nowadays?
The coroner reopened the case in 2016.
Oh, she just so happened to decide to jump off the freaking balcony by herself. She just so happened to jump off.
Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. In 2014, 2 young Dutch women disappeared on a hike in Panama. 10 weeks later, after an intensive search, some of their bone fragments were discovered, along with their phones and one of their cameras. On it were a series of photos chronicling the final days of Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. Here are those images. Things start off as you'd expect, with the girls cheerfully posing for the camera at various points along the hiking route. Lisanne continues to take pictures of Chris as they move deeper into the jungle.
It looks
Then,
pretty.
The pictures stop abruptly. 8 days later, about 90 photos were taken in the early hours of the morning. 87 of them were apparently of near complete blackness. They still haven't been released to the public. Of the 3 that have been released, 1 was of this patch of earth. 1 was of this, potentially a marker that one of the girls had made. The final discernible image was a close-up of the back of Chris's head. Her temple appears to be bloody. Some think that they were using the camera's flash to signal for help. Others think that they were using it to light their way as they navigated through the wilderness, to make sure that they weren't walking in circles. In their weakened state, perhaps they were using the flash to scare off predators. At this point, they would have been starving, dehydrated, and completely disoriented. After checking their call history, investigators learned that the girls had tried to make over 80 distress calls. It also became apparent that the girls were desperately trying to conserve their battery power. Lisanne's phone died on the 5th day in. Chris's phone was switched off for the last time at 11:56 p.m. on the 10th day. It's likely that Chris died on day 8, hence the bloody photo, and Lisanne took her phone in hopes of finding a signal. That would explain why, after day 8, the wrong pin was repeatedly entered into Chris's phone, and the device remained locked. The main theory at this point is that in the darkness, the girls somehow became separated. Chris fell, hit her head, and died as a result. Lisanne may have taken the rest of the pictures to mark the way back to Chris's body, hoping that the authorities may be able to use them to find her remains. Does it sound like I'm speculating a lot? Well, that's because I am. Nobody knows the exact fate of those girls during and after those 10 days. There are, of course, many theories flying around, and even some evidence that may suggest foul play. It's possible that a local guide with a history of inappropriate and aggressive behavior may have led the girls deep into the jungle. Then, when they fought off his advances, he may have left them stranded in the wilderness. Whatever the case, it's hard to imagine being lost in the jungle for 10 days straight. No food, no water, and no phone signal. These last, dark images give us a sense of the desperation those girls must have felt. What a nightmarish scenario.
Okay, first, I'm gonna say this. First, never, ever be stupid enough to go into a forest without some sort of protection, some form of nourishment, security. At the very least, you need to know yourself how the fudge to survive. If you're going to a forest, you need to know how to build a shelter, you need to know how to forage for food, how to acquire water. If you don't know how to do any of that crap, take 2 or 3 backpacks, maybe even 4 backpacks full of food and water. Seriously, take some mother fudging candy bars. Candy bars, if anything. Seriously, why are you stupid enough to go into a jungle without some form of protection or nourishment? Go and buy a flare. Buy a taser or some pepper spray to scare off your foe, whether it be some sort of beast in the wild or something. Or what you could also do is buy a freaking flare gun. Buy a flare gun and carry it with you. Don't go into the forest alone. Don't follow a stranger into the forest if you don't know who they are, or if you don't know if they have trustable credentials. Seriously, if you are not prepared, don't go into the forest. Don't go into jungle, don't go into forest. Don't go out into a desert. Especially don't go out into the desert. There's literally not a single thing in the desert you can use or eat or anything. Seriously, people. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna end this video here. It's been a while. So yeah. Don't be dumb. Don't be stupid. Take crap with you when you go. Do your research. Do some training, some survival training before you go. Yeah. And so before we end this, I just want to say, please hit that like button down below. If you're new to my channel and want to see more, please hit that subscribe button. Yeah, subscribe. But when you hit that like button, you help the channel grow a little bit more. And not only that, but please hit that baby bell down below to get notifications for when I post online. Without further ado, I am going to end this here. Bye-bye!